My name is Dark Knight 0952. Welcome back to another video. And today, this is the spoiler review of Marvel's Avengers Endgame. And this, if you have not seen it, please exit this video. Don't watch it at all if you have not seen it, because like I said, I don't want to spoil it for some of you guys who have not seen it. But if some of you guys have seen it already, welcome. So like I said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and favorite. And alright, let's get into it. So Avengers Endgame. So I get it kind of does start off slow, but how the movie automatically starts off is that it starts with, you know, Clint Barton's family, aka Hawkeye. It starts with his family, you know, being decimated from Thanos' snap that was in Infinity War. That was really the first scene that was in the movie. And then after that, it moved on to, you know, Iron Man and Gamora. Like, they're playing like this little... Oh, I forgot. I don't know what the game is exactly called, but it's like that game where you, like, get a piece of paper and I think it's like soccer or football or whatever. And, like, you flick the paper through somebody else's, like, hand that's supposed to be the goal. But yeah, that's what they were doing in that film. It was a really funny scene too. And so what happened, like when the first movie trailer came out for Endgame last year, they were wondering, oh no, like who's gonna rescue Tony? And people were making theories that maybe it was gonna be Pepper Potts who was gonna do it, but no, it was actually Captain Marvel who actually, like, you know, went up there and saved Tony Stark and Nebula. Because I said, and then once, like, she brought them back down to Earth, like, this dude, Tony Stark, he's all thin. Like, it's crazy how they went in all detail on that. It's like, they made him look so thin, because, you know, he hasn't eaten in, like, days. And, you know, like I said, he almost died up in space. He almost died. Because, you know, he was almost gonna, you know, he was gonna starve to death. Dehydrated, like, yeah, he was literally stranded out in space. But what happens after that, you know, they talk about how they can, like, figure out, like, a way of how to bring everybody back by getting the stones from Thanos. And Tony Stark, you know, he's in bad shape at the moment. He can't really do anything. But Tony, he gets mad at Cap because he said, because I don't know if you guys remember, is that in Age of Ultron, Captain America, he said, we'll do this together. And then Tony Stark in that movie, he said, but if we lose, and then Captain America says we'll do that together too. And Iron Man was literally just yelling at Captain America of how he was getting mad at him by saying, Cap, you weren't there because we lost, and you said we were going to do that together, and you were not there. That's what he said. And I was like, oh yeah, because I figured he was gonna get at him though. Because after the events of Civil War, Tony, I know he wasn't exactly gonna be all happy about seeing Captain America again. Because, you know, after the event of Captain America Civil War, where he tried to kill Bucky, and then Captain America, he fought to Iron Man to prevent him from doing that. Like I said, because some of the events from Captain America Civil War, they really had a major effect on the events that were in Infinity War, because, you know, they were split up. So what happened is that after, you know, like when he's yelling at him, he like faints because, you know, he's in very bad shape at the moment. And he so what happens is that, you know, after that, Captain Marvel, she like tries to, you know, head out of the Avengers facility, and then I think it was Black Widow who asked her that. She was like, where you going? She was like, to kill Thanos. That's what Captain Marvel said. And I was like, oh, like, wow, just really, like, right off the bat like that. So what happened after that, you know, they decided and get Thanos, like, because, like, Nebula knew exactly where Thanos was at, but then Nebula was like, wait a minute, I know where he is. That's what she was like, because she said, you know, because he told her, like, once he was done with this goal, like, he was gonna go somewhere called, like, the Garden. I think that's what's called, like, the Garden. I think that's what she said, the Garden. And then after that, you know, Thor, he like gets a Stormbreaker to try to test Captain Marvel, and she didn't even flinch or nothing. Like, she didn't do anything. Like, she just stood there, like, didn't even flinch. And and then Captain America, of course, he says, let's go get him. And then after that, it's the title sequence. It's the opening title for Avengers Endgame. And then right after that's done, they're literally in the Milano, which is Peter Quill, aka Star-Lord's ship, that he uses in like the movie. So they head up and they go into the ship, head on up to space to go, you know, get Thanos. And then they found him where he's at. And then Captain Marvel, she like goes to search to see if there's anyone else there besides him. She was like, nope. She was like, no army, no, like I said, nothing crazy. She was like, just him. And then they show Thanos, and then you see of how like after he snapped, like his whole left side of his body is practically like it's damaged pretty bad, and it's, you know, kind of burnt a little bit. Like I said, it's kind of burnt because the power of the Infinity Stones, you know, they're just so powerful all together when you use them all at once. Like, it practically killed him, like he said. So then what happens is that Captain Marvel, she like literally breaks through his I don't know what you call that, like his home or whatever, goes in there, and then everybody's literally like Captain Marvel, War Machine, Bruce Banner, because he's in the Hulkbuster suit, Bruce Banner, because remember, in Infinity War, Hulk, he never came back out after, you know, the beginning of the Infinity War, where Thanos, you know, literally beat the living crap out of him. But because remember, he never came back out, so he was still in the Hulkbuster suit. Because remember, near the end of Infinity War, he used the Hulkbuster suit to, you know, fight them off, the Outriders off, because that's what those creatures were. So then they all hold him down. Thor, what's crazy is that he literally comes right in with Stormbreaker, of course, chops Thanos' left arm off, like, you know, half of his left arm off, because, you know, that's the arm that had the Infinity Gauntlet on it. And then once he chops that off, Rocket, you know, checks to see, he looks at the Infinity Gauntlet and he realizes that he actually sees that they're not even there, the Infinity Stones, like they're gone. And then like they were wondering like what happened to the Infinity Stones, like where are they at? And then Bruce Banner says, you used them 2 days ago. And then so then what happens is that, crap, what else happened? What else happened? Oh yeah, that's right, because Thanos, he said the main like his other purpose was to destroy the Infinity, you know, Stones when he was done. And that's exactly what he did. So then all the other Avengers, they were thinking that he was lying, and then War Machine was like, we gotta tear this place apart. He's gotta be lying, like they gotta be somewhere around here. And then Nebula, she was like, no, he's not lying. And then she was like, cause he's not a liar. And then Thanos is like, oh, thank you so much for like standing up for me. And then Thor literally like chops Thanos' head off, and I was like, what do in Infinity War? Like what he should have done. And then like Rocket, he was like, what did you do? And then Thor said, I aimed for the head. I was like, yep, you did. Like just like exactly what he said to do, like exactly what he said you should have done in Infinity War. And then after that, you literally see a screen, you literally see like after he's done killing Thanos, like after you kill Thanos, it literally just says 5 years later in the next scene. I was like, no way, 5 years? And then like, dude, I was like, 5 years later, like, boy, that's quite a time jump. And then you just see how like everybody's just used to, you know, their world just like Earth just being just 50, like it's just 50 of them left. Like he said, half the universe, the other half is gone, but the other half is still there. So yeah. So then what happens is that you see, like, I think it was Joe Russo who had a cameo in Avengers Endgame. And yeah, like there was Joe Russo who had a cameo in there. So what happens is that actually, you know, he oh snap, because you know Captain America, he's at like this. I guess it was an intervention or whatever. I think that's where he probably was at an intervention. Maybe I really don't know where he was exactly at, but after that, like, okay, what happens after that? So after that, Ant-Man, okay, I think after that, that's when Ant-Man escapes the quantum realm, because if you guys don't remember, at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, he got stuck in the quantum, he went inside the quantum realm and never came back out because Hope Van Dyke, aka the Wasp, and Hank Pym, who was the original Ant-Man, and the mother, Janet, Janet Van Dyne, I think, yeah, who was the original Wasp, all three of them got snapped away, like they all got snapped away by Thanos. Cause like once he did the snap, like everybody, you know, disappeared, like half the universe disappeared, and they were one of the victims who you know, died with it. So Ant-Man was like, okay, what's going on, guys? Like he was like that, and he was like that at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp. He was like, okay, you guys can let me out, you know, but you know, he never came back out, you know, until Endgame, because a rat literally saved him. Like a rat like stepped on one of like the buttons for the quantum realm.
Lend me a hand. I'm losing my mind trying to find the John in this place.
And
it's like a maze up here.
He got out, and then, you know, security guard, he like lets him out with all his stuff, and then he, okay, what happens after that? What happened? Man, what does happen after that? Okay, wait. What does? Oh yeah, that's what, like, he goes looking around like the city, like his neighborhood, like what happened, like what's going on, cause he was like that, cause there was a kid who said, like, there was a kid who popped up near him. He was like this. He was like, hey, like what's going on? Like what happened? And then he goes to his house, and then you see Cassie, who's his daughter. She's older, like she's like a teenager. And I was like, wow, I'm just thrown off, like, wow, really? But I was like, yeah, it doesn't make sense, because, yeah, you know, it has been 5 years, so yeah. But, man. Wait a minute, can I, like, unfreeze him? Okay, yes, I can unfreeze him. But, so after that, I think that's when they hit.
Man, it was cold in there.
So it shows another scene where the, you know how the Avengers are doing at the Avengers facility, like Black Widow's there, and she's talking to like Rhodey, and she's talking to Rhodey, Captain Marvel, and the only difference Captain Marvel in that next scene is that she cut her hair, cause you know she has shorter hair. Because in the comic book, she cuts her hair a little bit, and her hair is shorter in the comic books, and that's what they did in this movie. Like, her hair is shorter, she got a new suit, and then you see how Black Widow, she's aka Natasha Romanoff, how she's talking to Okoye, Captain Marvel, War Machine, aka Rhodey, and she's also talking to Rocket Raccoon. And yeah, she's talking about them, like how it's been going, and like what are like their missions right now. Like that's what they were like discussing, like the missions of what they were doing. And then, you know, Captain America comes back, like Steve Rogers, he comes back to the facility, and then they're like, how you, like he says, how are you doing? Because, you know, he asks like, how are you doing, Natasha? And then, you know, she said, like, you know, you guys are the only family I've ever had. And it's true, because we all seen it in, like, one of the visions from Age of Ultron of how she never, like, really had, like, a normal life. You know, she never had, like, because until she met them, like, that was her only family. Because she never really had a, you know, a real family like that. Like, no. So then after that, like, I think that's when Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man, aka, you know, Ant-Man. I think that's when he has the facility. And then he talks to Natasha and Steve Rogers about quantum physics, of how, you know, maybe he could bring everybody back. And then he said, and no, he was like this, he was like, how many years has it been? He said, and then Steve Rogers and Natasha, they said 5 years, because he said, because, you know, in the quantum realm, the time is different there. So when those 5 years passed, he was technically only in the quantum realm for only 5 hours instead of 5 years, because you know, the quantum realm's time works differently than in the real world, in the reality. So that's what happens. So then he's discussing, you know, maybe, you know, he knows how he can like bring everybody back. And then like he explains like how he got out, like what was going on, and then he said of how Hank Pym and Hope were supposed to bring him back out, including Janet, who's the mother of Hope and the wife of Hank Pym. And he was like, because they were supposed to bring me out, but I guess, you know, he was really like this. He was like, I guess, you know, they got snapped away too. So he figures out a way. He's like, okay, maybe we can possibly bring everybody back because Quantum Realm may have time travel in it. So that's pretty much like the main purpose of this movie, is time travel. That's what it's pretty much about too, like of how they bring everybody back. They, of course, you know, they use time travel. And so then after that, they actually go to where do they go? They go to I believe they go to Bruce Banner first. They see him first. And then you can tell there's a big difference about Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, is that I even heard, you know, like before the movie was coming out, I heard that people said Hulk, he might be different in this film. And I was like, okay, that could make sense that, you know, yeah, he might be different in this film, because, you know, after Infinity War, he acted scared and all that, because like I said, because he was starting to act a little bit different. You can actually tell how he was starting to change. So then they show him, they're eating breakfast or whatever, they're at like this little restaurant, and then you see him, it's him as Bruce Banner, but as the Hulk. Like, it's him as Hulk, but it's him as the Hulk, but the only difference is that he has the mind of Bruce Banner. Like, he was able to combine those two personalities together. Like, that's what he was able to do. Like, he was able to combine those two personalities together and then created Professor Hulk. That's what he is now. He's Professor Hulk. Like, he's not like the same Hulk that we've seen in the past films. He's different now, and I gotta say, I actually like this Hulk better. I actually like Professor Hulk better. I really do, because like, he's funnier. He seems funnier too. And then it was like a funny joke of how like he was like, I know, it's crazy. I'm wearing shirts now. Like, that was so funny. And plus, there was another scene in that. There was actually another part in that scene where like these kids, they come up to him. They're like, they were like, Mr. Hulk, can we take a photo? And then he was like, of course, little person. And then after they were done taking a photo, he was like, it's Scott Lang. He was like, you know, I wish you guys to take a photo with me. I'm Ant-Man. And then they were looking at him all confused. They didn't know who he was. And it's true, a lot of people don't know who Ant-Man really is. They really don't. And what's kind of crazy is like, they kind of like did that with Hawkeye a little bit, of how like no one really cares about it. Or like what people think in the film, like those kids, like okay, like we really don't know who you are. Like, they don't. So like, that was a funny scene too. Then Hulk, he was like, come on, take a picture with them. He was like, no. And he just said, let's take the phone. So after that, that's when they showed Tony Stark, I believe. Yeah, and then you see how like he's had, you know, he's got a different house, and that you see like there's like this sort of like little tent or whatever, like playground stuff, whatever. And then you see this like little girl pop out of like a tent or whatever with this Iron Man helmet on. And then I was like, oh my god, did he have a daughter? And that's exactly what happened is that he had a daughter, and her name was Morgan Stark. And that's a little bit of foreshadowing they did. Is that I don't know if some of you guys remember Infinity War, but in Infinity War he did say that I had a dream that we had a kid, and that she was named and then that the kid was named after like one of your like relatives, and then it was like Morgan. So they named her Morgan Stark in this film. And then you also see how Natasha, Steve Rogers, and Scott, you see how like all three of them, they come up to his house and they're talking to him about quantum physics. Well, of course Tony Stark already knows what quantum physics is, because you know he's a scientist, like he's brilliant, like he's a genius, he's a billionaire genius, you know, because he's, you know, very intelligent, he knows a lot of things. And like they were talking to him maybe how like they could bring everybody back. And then he was like, no, I don't want to hear about this, like I'm out of the fight, like I don't want to do it, because he's sort of like this, he's like, I got a kid now, like no, I'm like out of the fight. But actually what happens is that when they leave, he's actually like been studying and like doing tests to see if this, you know, time travel can actually work. And then he actually like did like a little test, and it said positive, it said successful, and it was like, wow. He was like, wow, so this can actually work. So then after that, so what happens after that is that, you know, he heads to he tells Pepper about it. And actually when he's at the house, he actually like looks at a picture, and it's with him and Peter Parker in it, because you know Peter Parker, of course, you know, he got killed off in Infinity War. But yeah, so what happens after that is that I believe that's when, I think that's when they're back at you know, Avengers facility, and they're testing out time travel, and you see how like Scott Lang, how he's trying to test it out, and like you just see him at a younger age, and then he comes out as a baby, and he comes back as an old man, and then he goes back to his regular self. And then Hulk, he was like, time travel, and I was like, wow. And that was so funny. He was like, time travel. He was like, what? I think we had to win. Like, he was funnier in this film. Like, Hulk, he was really funny in this film. He really was. So then, you know, after that, what happens after that is that, I think that's when Tony Stark, that's when Tony Stark, he appears at the Avengers facility. He comes to help, and he also gives back Steve Rogers his shield. Because remember in Captain America Civil War, when Tony Stark he took the shield, because I remember he said that shield, you don't deserve it, my father made that shield, and then Cap, he just dropped it so Tony could just have it back, and it was like, wow. So then he gives back the shield, and then what they do is that Hulk, he goes out to New Asgard with Rocket, see how Thor's doing, and then once they get there, you see Valkyrie, and I was like, wait, so this is how she's gonna go into the film, because like there's like these posters that they revealed when the movie was coming out, like a couple weeks before the movie came out. It was like these posters of how everybody was in color, and the ones who died in Infinity War, they were in like gray and black, because it was like because those were the fallen, and the ones that were in color, those were the ones that were left. So then they visit New Asgard, they see Valkyrie, and I was like, oh, okay, so there's Valkyrie. And then they head into like this house, and then Thor is there, but oh, that just kind of makes me laugh though. So you see Thor, except the only huge shocker was that he's fat. He's got beer belly, like I was like, whoa, I was like, jeez, like what happened to him? Like this, I was like, this dude has major beer belly, and I was like, dude. And it was funny to see him like that too. Like it was very shocking to see him like that, and I kind of like how they did it. It was like, man, like time has really changed. Like he's not, like, it's like this. It's like, is this really the God of Thunder? That's what it's almost like, but like he's just fat, like he. And then you also see Korg, and I was like, oh wait, there goes Korg too. So he did survive that attack that happened in Infinity War at the beginning, where like Thanos, he attacked the Asgardian ship, because some people thought that, you know, he was dead, and I was like, maybe he might be still alive, maybe not, but he is, so he was still alive, and see how he's alive, and they're also playing Fortnite in that movie too, like they're also playing Fortnite, and Thor, he says like this really funny thing. He was actually like arguing with the troll over the headset, and then he said like the guy's game attack. He said, "I will fly right over to your fortress, wherever you like live in your mom's basement, and I will hunt you down. I will like shut you off." And I was like, "Oh my god!" Like that was so funny. And it's like this is like, man, like he has really changed over like these past 5 years, because like everyone has pretty much changed over like these 5 years. So then after that, like he talks to Thor how you know, he could bring everybody, how they figured out a way to bring everybody back. And then Rocket Raccoon, he was like, there's beer on the ship. So then Thor, he went ahead and joined them, and you know, he was helping out. And then you also see how like, I believe it's in China, I believe, like Japan, like where Hawkeye, he's not really Hawkeye anymore, he's Ronin now. What was kind of weird is how nobody called him Ronin in the film, because I thought the Avengers was gonna start calling him Ronin instead of Hawkeye. So then you just see him of how he's just literally just killing all these like enemies and all that. I was like, man, he was turned into a total badass, like seriously. And it's really cool to see him in this film. I was very happy to see, even though I don't particularly care for Hawkeye that well, but it was still nice to see him in this film. It really was. So then what happens is that, you know, Natasha, she goes visit, you know, she goes looking for him, and you know, she finally finds him, and then she says of how, you know, revenge will bring your family back. So, and then she told him how they figured out a way to bring everybody back, so he joins them, and now you pretty much have all 6 Avengers back together. So that's pretty much what you have now, or what everyone has now. So everybody's at Avengers facility, like they're getting ready to go time travel, and then you see like Bruce Banner and I think Tony Stark helped out too, but Bruce Banner and them, you know, they helped out create like the new quantum realm suits for every Avenger. Like they were matching, you know, matching uniforms, and you see how Hawkeye, they test it out, and you actually see how he goes back in time. And they go back in time, and of how, you know, he goes back in time, he's at, you know, his house back in the past. And then, you know, that's where his family is still alive, and then, you know, he went back, and then he was like, it worked, and then they were like, alright, everyone's suit. Steve Rogers like, okay, it's time. So like, he even gives a lecture too, and then they also show how Bruce Banner, aka Hulk, well, Professor Hulk, it's not really Hulk, I mean it's still Hulk, but it's just him as, like, you know, it's just him more intelligent as the Hulk. But you see Professor Hulk and Thor, they're in the uniforms. What's crazy is that, you know, they also let Thor's hair grow out again, because I was starting to get used to his short hair that he had after Ragnarok, and the same haircut that he had in Infinity War 2. Like, I was starting to get used to it. I was like, okay, this is a really cool haircut that he has. But then he technically grew it back in sort of like this dreadlock sort of way.
Whippersnappers, young and old.
So yeah, that's what happened.
This high, you
and
will automatically qualify for entry into the... Such agility, most impressive, or so I'm
yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
This is a pre-recorded message
and then
set to play after a certain amount of time has
and
passed.
They all head, you know, to the quantum realm, and then Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, he gives like this huge, you know, lecture, you know, and like he gives like this speech about, he's saying, you know, this is the fight of our lives, and he said whatever it takes. and then he's, you know, tells all of them good luck, because they split up into teams. Like, they all split up to, like, different teams of how, of how Captain America, Iron Man, Professor Hulk, and Ant-Man, all four of them were going to travel together to go get the Mind Stone, the Time Stone, and the Space Stone. And then I think, okay, Thor and Rocket, they went to go get the Reality Stone. And then Nebula and War Machine, they went to go get the Power Stone. And then Hawkeye and Black Widow, they went to Vormir to get the what's it called, the Soul Stone. And so how it works is that, you know, the time travel. So everyone suits up at the quantum realm portal, and at the quantum realm portal, they all, you know, travel back into the past, and then it also says New York 2012. That's what it says in the movie. It says 2012, and it shows how, you know, back then because, you know, in 2012, that was when the first Avengers movie came out. So then it shows when they all assembled for the first time in that battle of New York. It showed them really quick, and then it showed the man, I cannot speak. Then it showed, like, the Avengers that we know now, like the present Avengers, of how they went back. You see them, they're in, like, this alleyway, they appear. And then it shows, like, Hulk, of how he used to be back then. And then Professor Hulk, he was very embarrassed, because he was like, wow, I can't believe I used to be like that. That's what he was like. So then, what happens is that, you know, the Ancient One, and you guys don't know who that is, that's the mentor of Doctor Strange, who taught him, like, the arts of, like, the sorcery and all that. So, she was actually there, but, you know, they just never showed it, because, you know, they didn't have plans for a Doctor Strange movie back in 2012. So they actually showed that she was actually there fighting someone off the Chitauri that were, you know, in that battle. And she was like killing off some of the Chitauri that, you know, that the Avengers were fighting. And then Hulk, he goes to the Sanctum, that's where she's at. So he goes there to try to get the Time Stone, while Iron Man, Ant-Man, and Captain America, they get the Space Stone and the Mind Stone, because the Space Stone was in the Tesseract and the Mind Stone was in the Loki Scepter. So Iron Man is in his Mark 85 suit. I don't know why they call it the Mark 85 suit. I don't know why they called it that, because I remember in Infinity War, that was his Mark 50 suit. And what happened is that they go into Avengers Tower, because that's where they went to last when the Battle of New York was done. Because remember, at the end of the first Avengers movie, that's where they went to go confront Loki and to take him in, so that way, like, Thor could take him back to Asgard like he did in the first Avengers movie. So, like, once they're there, Iron Man, that's at the present day, he sneaks in to Avengers Tower to see where they're at, like, what exactly they were doing. And then you see Captain America, he's also in Avengers Tower too, and there's a part where, like, he's actually the Captain America from present day, like the one that we have. So, like, you see him, he goes to this elevator with literally the exact same Hydra, the undercover Hydra agents that were working for S.H.I.E.L.D. undercover when they were actually the bad guys. You actually see the exact same guys that were in Captain America Winter Soldier, and then Captain America, he goes into the elevator in Avengers Endgame, and the scene seems so familiar, because it's literally almost like the same scene that was in Captain America the Winter Soldier. Remember that elevator fight scene? But instead of him fighting all the people all over again, he decides to say Hail Hydra. And I was like, okay, that was very clever and smart to do that, because he already knew like what was gonna happen, because he already experienced that in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, where he was in the elevator scene. So he already knew what was gonna go down, because he was trying to make them pass over the scepter, and he finally got it after he said "Hail Hydra." So then he actually runs into the past Captain America, and then the two of them, they fight, and they're like, you know, they're fighting each other and all that, like they fight, and then the present day Captain America, he just literally just knocks out the Captain America from the past. And then there was like this joke in this film of how like of Captain America, of how like Tony Stark and Ant-Man, of how they were talking about Captain America, you know, where, you know, his rear end, or should I say his butt, in like the movie, like they were talking about that. That was a funny joke. And then like Ant-Man, he was like, that is America's, you know, A word. That's what he said. Like I said, I can't really say any cuss words, you know. I'm trying to keep this, you know, friendly here, but that's what happens. But like that's, like I said, that's what happens, you know, for them. And I don't know exactly, I forgot how they got the Tesseract back, because it was, okay, so it was when, you know, it was when Stark, he was actually like one of the SHIELD agents, and then, you know, he was one of the SHIELD agents, and then he was like, and then he was given the, what's it called, the Tesseract, because that has the Space Stone in it. So like the Hulk from the past, he has to go down the steps. So then once he's done coming out of the steps, he like slams the door open, and it kind of like hits Tony Stark, and the Tesseract falls out of the briefcase. Loki grabs it and it disappears, and I don't know how they got the Tesseract back from him. I don't know how they found him. But hey, that's what happened. No, I don't want to deal with this. But that's what happens right there.
Place.
So
it's like a maze up here.
So, and plus, even like Bruce Banner, he's still talking with the Ancient One, of saying of how if you take the Time Stone, you'll mess up our reality for the people in the past. But then Bruce Banner, he said, if we take it and then bring it back, then your reality will be saved. That's what he was like. So the Ancient One, she gives him the Time Stone. So now, like, Captain America, Iron Man, and Ant-Man, they're able to regain Tesseract. Oh, wait a minute. That's right. That's how they get the Tesseract back. That's right. They did show it. Because it was when, okay, so Ant-Man said, like, there are Pym particles, and how there's only, like, 2 for each, like, 1 for each trip. Like, you only get to use them, like, at least, like, 2 times. And because there wasn't really a lot of it. So Iron Man and Captain America, they go back farther in time, and they go back farther in time to go get more Pym particles and get the Tesseract back. So that's what happens, because Captain America, he's getting the Pym particles, while Iron Man, aka Tony Stark, he's getting the Tesseract back. Because remember, back then they had the Tesseract. It was actually in like this camp's hands. It was in their hands, because I think Howard Stark. Oh yeah, and I'll get into that in a minute, because that was kind of a sad scene too. But what happens is that, okay, so they go back in time to get more Pym particles, and then there's a Stan Lee cameo, which honestly, it was okay for his cameo, but I thought they could have done it a little bit better. I mean, come on, guys. Like, this literally, like, he was the creator of Marvel. Like, y'all could have gave, like, a better final cameo than that. Like, I mean, it wasn't bad, but, like, I just feel like they could have done a little bit better than that. And they could have. They really could have. Like, they could have done better than that. But then, you see how, like, after Tony Stark, she gets the Tesseract back, while they go to that, what is that thing called? I forgot what it's called. It was like some sort of military base or whatever. But Howard Stark, he was there too, because Howard Stark, he would do all of his experiments there and all that. So then, see what happens. So then, Tony, he meets his father, and then they take a walk, and then he makes up a lie saying his name was Howard Potts. And it makes sense, because he took Howard Stark's name, and took Pepper Potts' last name, just put that name together, which is pretty clever how he did that. But and then like they go outside, they talk to each other, and then they were talking about how because this was around the time when Tony Stark was about to be born back then in the past, because he said, Howard Stark says, I got a pregnant wife, you know, with the child ready to be born, and then he was like this, he was like, yeah, I have my own child, and then Howard's like, he was like, what's that like? And then like Howard was like, were you nervous? And then Tony, he was like, yeah, I really was. Like, that was so emotional how Tony, he was actually talking to his own father that he really never got a chance to like really know. Like, and he got to like really talk to him right there, which I know Tony felt really good about that. Even Howard, he says, do I know that guy? And yeah, so what happens is that, you know, they got the Space Stone, and then it moves on to, I believe it moves on to War Machine and Nebula next, and they're out to get the Space Stone because they travel back to 2014, because 2014 was when the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie came out, and that's when, you know, they had to go get the Space Stone, like they had to go get the Power Stone before Quill did. So like they were waiting for Peter Quill to show out. War Machine just knocks Peter Quill out, aka Star-Lord. Like he just knocks Star-Lord out while they go inside that little chamber to go get the not the Space Stone, the Power Stone. Wait a minute guys, hold on. Okay guys, I'm back. Okay, so where was I? Okay, so they get the space, no, not the Space Stone, the Power Stone. That's what they get. War Machine and Nebula. It's like Nebula, she get, you know, damages her arm a little bit to, you know, try to get the stone, because like that's where it's been held at, in like this little laser sort of thing. Like it's a chamber, but it has like this little like this container or crate that it's in, and it's got a little bit of lasers on it, so she had to like damage her arm to like as she was getting the stone a little bit. But so they got that stone, but then here's where things really start to get crazy. So the past Nebula, like even War Machine explained to her of who else was looking for the Power Stone. Okay, God, I keep saying Space Stone. So she also explained to her like who else was looking for the Power Stone instead of, you know, besides Quill. And then she said her her sister, which is Gamora, and then she said Thanos, like which is her father, and then she said herself too. Because, you know, that was when Nebula back in 2014, that's when she was still a villain. Because, you know, I like this Nebula that's in present day. Like, I like this Nebula so much better because, like, she's softer now. Like, she seems a little bit, like, more like I said, she's more pleasant. And I like this Nebula so much better. So, he explains that to her, then they show the past Nebula and Gamora fighting off these guys or whatever, like these enemies. And then they head back to the ship. and you see Thanos from the past. You know, that's how he, of how he had the armor on in the trailer, like in the special look and all that. Because he had his armor on. And, so that's what he had. So, like, and then, like, that's the past Thanos. And then, the present day Nora, not Nora, what's her name? Wow, I literally said Nora. What's her name? Nebula. She has like these problems. Like she has like these problems with like her communicate, like with her, cause like something in her systems was picking up. Cause that was the same time when the past Nebula was there too. So like she was there too, the past Nebula. So they were there at the same time. They were both picking up like a signal of some kind. Cause they were both there at the same time. The present day Nebula and the past Nebula. So they were both there at the same time. So then that's how like they were starting to realize how the present day Nebula was there. And that's when like the past enemies, they were starting to like follow them to the present day, to the future. So after that, then they show Black Widow and Hawkeye at Vormir, which is where Thanos and Gamora were at in Avengers Infinity War. Because that's where they were at in Avengers Infinity War, where Thanos he killed off Gamora. He had to sacrifice her. Actually, wait a minute. So then, what happens is that they head back to Vormir, because that's where Thanos sacrificed Gamora to get the Soul Stone. So then I was like, wait a minute, if they're at Vormir, somebody's gonna have to die, because that's when I started to realize. I was like, okay, who's gonna die? Is it gonna be Hawkeye or Black Widow? So then Black Widow, she sacrifices herself, because Red Skull, remember, he was there in Infinity War, he was there in this movie too, and then he explained to Black Widow and Hawkeye of how, in order to get the stone, you must sacrifice the loved one, like something like you care about, a lot. So, like, they're literally just both fighting over, like, there's kind of like a miniature battle between Hawkeye and Black Widow to see like who's gonna be the one to get sacrificed. So then what happens is that Hawkeye, he shoots a bow and arrow at her, which causes a little explosion, and then he starts to run off. He starts to try to run off the cliff. Then Black Widow, she kind of like stops him from trying to run off the cliff. So then they both jumped off at the moment, but then Hawkeye, he used like this little zip line to this little grapple to hang on to the side of the mountain. So then Black Widow, she was like, just let go. You need to be with your family and all that. So she was like, just let go. So then she let go and she sacrificed herself. And then Hawkeye, he got the Soul Stone. And then everybody meets back into the present day. Everybody meets back at Avengers facility in the present day, and they got all the stones all together. Like, and then people, they were like, the other Avengers, they were like, where's Natasha? And then he was like, the Hawkeye said she had to sacrifice herself to get the stone. And then they were all upset, especially Bruce Banner, because that was his lover. Because that was his lover. So like, he was upset too. And then they were like, and then Captain America, he said, they were all talking about. She was like, man, like, who was her family? And then Captain America, he said, us. Like, we were the only family that she had. So then after that, Tony Stark, he creates like his own nanotech Infinity Gauntlet, and then they put all the stones together, and then once they're done, Rocket Raccoon, kind of like tries to scare them. But then, and then after that, Rocket Raccoon, he says, okay, so who's gonna snap their fingers? And then Bruce Banner, he decided to go ahead and do it, because like I said, because it was made out of gamma radiation, and that's what he is consumed of. Like I said, because in order to create the Hulk, you need gamma radiation, and that's what he is. He's made from, like, he has like the, because he has like some, you know, the abilities from gamma radiation. That's what he's like, that's what he was created from, was gamma radiation, in order to like create the Hulk. So they decided to do that, but they were just deciding, and Bruce Banner, he decides to do it. Even Thor, he was like, you know what, I should do it. And then I was like, no, you don't need to do it. Like, no, because you're too out of shape to do that. So then, it was so funny that he was like, what do you think is going through my veins right now? Then Rhodey, he literally says, Cheese Whiz. I'm like, wow, that's, wow.
It's like driving inside a bounce house around here.
So then, you know, that happens. So Bruce Banner, he snaps his fingers. But you see, like, after he's done snapping his fingers, you see how like, his right arm is literally like burnt up, like, because the power of the Infinity Stone is too powerful for anyone to, you know, maintain. It really is, like, it's too powerful. So after that, you see how, like, that's something I left out, of how the Nebula from present day was captured by the past Nebula and the past Thanos and Gamora. Like, she was captured by them. So then the past Nebula. So the past Nebula takes the place of the present Nebula, goes to the future, and she decides, like, after Bruce Banner snapped his fingers, she brings Thanos from the past to the future. And that's what happens. And then you see how Clint, aka Hawkeye, he gets a phone call from his wife. And that, like, once that happened, like, once he got a phone call from his wife, I was like, oh my god, it worked. I was like, okay, it worked. I was like, good. And then he sees that, he answers the call, and then Scott Lang, he's even like this, he's like, guys, it worked. And then you see how, like, when Bruce Banner, aka Hulk, Professor Hulk, like, he looks up, you see how there's a ship above Avengers facility, and it drops a bomb, like a missile, and then Avengers facility is literally like torn to shreds, blown up. It gets attacked by Thanos, and then you see like how Thanos, he comes down from the ship, and he's like, and he tells the past the past Nebula, like, he tells her what he's gonna do, and then he says, I'm just gonna wait, because he said he's just waiting, because, you know, he was waiting for something to happen. So then all the Avengers are kind of, some of them are kind of they're kind of like, you know, just stunned a little bit from that attack. So then, you know, they all find each other. War Machine, his suit got damaged, so he had to get out of that. He saved Rocket Raccoon. Then Ant-Man, he was survived, so he got out too. And then Professor Hulk, he survived, so he also got out too. So then you see how Thor, he was already outside, and then you see how Iron Man, he finds Captain America, and then he says, if you lose the shield again, I'm keeping it. So that's what he says. So then that's what happens. So then once Iron Man and Captain America, they meet up with Thor outside at the facility, you know, they meet up outside, and then Thor, he already sees Thanos, and then they asked Thor, they're like, what is he doing? And then he said, absolutely nothing. So then you see how Thor, he like just suits up, like he calls the thunder, and he gets, you know, suited up, of course still with the beer belly. And then you see how like his beard got braided a little bit, and I was like, okay, he kind of looks kind of cool, because, you know, he has a longer beard too. And then he was like, let's kill him properly this time. So then you got Iron Man and Captain America and Thor, the three of them are just approaching, you know, Thanos are just approaching him, and then Thanos, he gives like this sort of like little like speech or whatever, tells them of how like after he's done with you, he's like, after I'm done killing you, I'm gonna burn this planet, and then they, you know, then that's when they start to fight him, and then like one of the coolest scenes happens is that one of the coolest scenes ever, and they already kind of foreshadowed this, is that once they're fighting him, you know, like okay, so what happens to Iron Man? He uses like some of his nanotech to fight off Thanos. Like Thor, he gives him a charge, and then Thanos, he uses like his blade, his dual-sided blade, to like kind of like deflect some of Iron Man's repulsor beams, and then Thor, you see Thor, how he has Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, and if you guys don't know, well, Mjolnir is technically Thor's old hammer, because remember, when they went back in time, Thor, when he was talking to his mother, like after he was done talking to his mother, he was able to get the old hammer back, like he got Mjolnir back. So then what happens is that, you know, he gives, you know, Iron Man a charge up, and then he throws Mjolnir at Thanos, but then Thanos picks up Iron Man, and then Iron Man, he gets hit by Mjolnir, and then Thor, he's just trying to fight off Thanos, and then Thanos, he's literally just beating the living crap out of Thor. Like, he literally just slams it to boulders, like he throws it to one side, punches him, and then throws it to another side, punches him again, just stomping him. So then Thor, he calls Stormbreaker to him, like you know how like he kind of like he raises his hand out to, you know, get the hammer back. So then once he's getting that, it's kind of crazy because Thanos, he lifted Stormbreaker for a second. He lifted it.
Well,
once, you know, because, you know, while Thor was calling Stormbreaker back, he literally lifted it and then tried to like stab Thor with it, because, you know, Stormbreaker is an axe, like it's a hammer and an axe, you know, in one. So then once he's getting like, once he's, you know, trying to almost getting killed by Thanos, you see of how Mjolnir is being picked up, and even my brother, he was next to me, he was like, wait, who's picking it up? I was like, once I saw that, I was like, oh my god, is that Captain America picking it up? I was like this, I was like, if it was Captain America picking it up, I swear I'm gonna like, man, I was gonna get really excited if it is him. So then you see how Mjolnir just hits Thanos, and then you see how Mjolnir just stops, and then it goes back to Captain America. Captain America catches Mjolnir, and I was like, oh, I was really like this, I was like, oh my god, he finally wielded Mjolnir. Because remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but in Avengers Age of Ultron, what happens is that, you know, when all the Avengers, they had that party in Age of Ultron, they all try to lift Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. They all try to lift him up, and you saw how like Captain America, he was the only other person who was able to make, Mjolnir move a little bit off the table. Cause like, you saw how like when Captain America, she was trying to pick it up in Age of Ultron, you saw how like the hammer moved a little bit, like how it actually moved a little bit when Captain America tried to pick it up. So yeah, so in this movie, Captain America, he finally wielded Mjolnir, which was really cool. And then you just see of how Captain America, he's just swinging Mjolnir as he's like running at Thanos to, you know, try to, you know, beat him up and kill him. So then you just see how like he just swings the hammer, then there's like an uppercut with the hammer, and then he just like throws both his shield and Mjolnir at the same time at Thanos, and it hits Thanos, it damages him pretty bad. And also of how like it when he also threw it through both the items at the, like once he threw Mjolnir and his shield at the same time again. Remember how when Thor's hammer would hit Captain America's shield, how it make that huge like noise, how it would like create like that huge attack, like that huge powerful noise attack. It was like a sound attack almost. So they like that happened while he was fighting him. He threw it at the same time. Like when he threw both the weapons at the same time, it made that little doing noise at the same time. And then both his shield and Mjolnir both came back at him.
Hey.
And what happened is that, you know, he had Thanos for a moment, and then what was crazy is that he actually used the he actually used the lightning of Mjolnir with Thor's hammer. He used Thor's hammer to make lightning come down from the sky, so then he uses the lightning against Thanos. That's what Captain America does. So Captain America, he uses the lightning against Thanos and all that, and then he hits Thanos with the lightning, and then tries to do it again and then he like does another lightning strike at him again, and then he just tries to does another, and then Captain America, he tries to do a slam with the hammer and the shield at the same time. He tries to do like a ground slam on Thanos, but then Thanos, he's able to dodge that. Then Thanos is able to, like, you know, block off his attacks, and then he uses that blade to sort of stab, well, not stab, but he like cut Captain America a little bit, like a little cut with the sword. And then as you can see how like Thanos, he's literally like hitting Captain America's shield so hard, Captain America's shield starts to break. And I was like, oh wait, is this where he's gonna die? Is he gonna die? Because I don't know if you guys remember, but in Avengers Age of Ultron, Tony Stark had a vision where all the other Avengers had died, and Captain America had also died too, and his shield was also broken in that vision. So when his shield was getting like destroyed in this film, it was like literally being broken apart. Like Thanos, he kept hitting his shield so hard with the sword, and he kept hitting it repeatedly, really hard, and then he was like, and then like he literally like broke his shield. Half of the shield is literally gone, and then he just like hits Captain America so hard that he literally goes flying across the battlefield. So then Captain America, you see how he's all beat up and all that, and you also see how like he gets back up and tightens his shield. You know, he tightens his shield up, you know, because that means, you know, he's getting ready to fight more. He's getting ready to fight some more. So then Thanos calls his entire army down to go fight Captain America and the other Avengers, and then you hear this voice in Captain America's headset that's inside of his helmet, those little comms. That's what they're called. They're called comms. And then you hear Sam's voice. And Sam, of course, aka the Falcon, you hear how he says, "Steve, can you hear me? On your left." He says, "Steve, on your left." And then you just see how like all of Doctor Strange's portals start to open. Then you see how Black Panther and Shuri and Okoye, they come out of the portal. Because you see how Black Panther and Shuri, they're back. Because Shuri and Black Panther, they were the ones who also got snapped away. They also got killed off by Thanos, snapped in Infinity War too. They never showed Shuri to getting disintegrated or dusted away, but they showed it. They confirmed that she died, and because remember those posters that they revealed when Endgame was getting ready to come out, where like it showed those people who are in the gray and black, because the people who are in the gray and black colors, those are the ones who got killed off. But yeah, Black Panther, Shuri, they came back, and then you see how another portal opens. It shows how the Guardians of the Galaxy are back, because they got killed away too. In Infinity War, they got dusted away too. You see how Drax is back, Mantis is back, Star-Lord is back, and you see how Spider-Man, he starts web swinging out of the portal. So you see how Spider-Man, he's also back, and I was very happy to see Spider-Man again. And then you also see of how Doctor Strange, he comes out of a portal too. He comes out of his own portal too. Then you see Wong, who's actually an ally of Doctor Strange, and you see how he's with other sorcerers too, who you know, came to help, you know, to help fight off Thanos. You know, to come help the Avengers, because you know, the other sorcerers that Wong had brought to the fight, they came to help the Avengers, of course. So they helped out too, like they came back too, and then you saw how Bucky and you saw how Black Panther's Wakandan army came out of the portal too, and then you also saw how like, oh yeah, that's right. At the same time when Black Panther, Shuri, and Okoye came out of the portal, Falcon came out of the portal as well, out of Wakanda. Because remember, that was where Falcon, Black Panther, Shuri, and Winter Soldier, and Groot, that's where all of them died at. Because all of them died in Wakanda, in Avengers Infinity War. That's where they all died at the end, which was in Wakanda. So then,
taking forever to plow.
You also see of how Pepper Potts, she comes into the fight with her rescue armor on, because that's how she is in the comic books. She's actually Rescue in the comic books. Like, that's her superhero name is Rescue. I already knew that. I already knew about that. About how Rescue was her superhero name in the comic books. Because I didn't know they were, I didn't think they were gonna bring in Rescue into the MCU. I really didn't. But even when they first showed Morgan Stark, Tony Stark's daughter, of how she had the helmet on, I was like, oh, okay, so she is gonna be Rescue then. So then, yeah, so she came in her rescue armor. Then you see Valkyrie and the Asgardian army come out of the portals too. And then you also see of how, you know, Ant-Man and Bruce Banner you actually see how like Ant-Man and Professor Hulk and War Machine and Rocket Raccoon, you see how Ant-Man helped them out by, you know, getting them out of the rubbish. Wait. Oh, sorry guys. But they, you know, cause you know, out of the rubble that was in the, cause you know, he helped them get out of all that rubble after, you know, Avengers facility was destroyed. So he turned into Giant Man. Actually, he turned into a giant just like he did in Captain America Civil War. Because remember with Ant-Man, he turned into a giant. So that's what happened. So he turned into Giant Man, and then he brought out Hulk. He brought out Professor Hulk and Rocket Raccoon and War Machine. And War Machine is actually in a new suit, and that's the exact same suit that they showed in the trailer, except it was red and blue and white. It was like red and blue and silver. It was red, blue, and silver. Like, those are the colors for the suit. Because they showed that suit in the second Avengers trailer. In the second Avengers Endgame trailer. Except they didn't show him. Except they just showed him in the trailer with his just normal gray and black colors. But in the movie, he actually wears, like, it's the same suit except the colors are different. Because, like, they didn't want to show that in the trailer because his colors were actually red, blue, and silver in the actual film. So then you see how, like, all the Avengers and all these other superheroes, they came back, they're all at the same place together, getting ready to fight Thanos' army. And then you hear Captain America say that, like, we were all waiting for him to say it after all, like, these 22 movies. Because, like, he never said in the past. Because, like I said, he never said in the other MCU films. And,
busted up.
He finally said it. Because, like, he was about to say it at the end of Age of Ultron, but they cut out the assemble part. But when everybody got together in Avengers Endgame at the final battle, where all the heroes were there all together, he said, he was like, Avengers! And then he, like, and then he also, like, brings out Mjolnir. He calls Mjolnir to him, so Mjolnir comes back to Captain America when he says it. So he's like, Avengers! Assemble! And then everybody just starts running and flying at Thanos' army, which is one of the best scenes ever out of the entire movie. And then you hear how they're playing the Avengers theme music, and then it's like da 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 da. It's like da da. And it's like da 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 do, and then like and then they just start, you know, fighting all that. And then you see Pepper Potts in action with her rescue armor on, and you know, her and Iron Man, they teamed up and all that. And then you see Spider-Man also fighting them off too. You see everybody fighting them. You see everyone literally just fighting. And then what was really cool seeing is what was really cool is how like Iron Man saw Spider-Man again, like they met up again, and like Tony Stark just hugged him when Spider-Man was explaining like what was going on, like what Doctor Strange explained to him. Because Doctor Strange, like, once everybody came back, Doctor Strange was like, okay, Peter, it's been 5 years later, and he said it's 5 years later, the Avengers, they need us. And then Spider-Man, he said, because you know he does all, Spider-Man was like, okay, because you know how Doctor Strange, this is what Spider-Man said, he said, so then after Doctor Strange was done telling me that, he did all that, like, the sparkly thing, bringing out the portals, that's what he said in the movie. The Iron Man just like hugged him, and I was like, yes, there you go. Cause it's like Iron Man was just like finally, like he was just like, finally you're back. So yeah, so they met up again, which is a really cool moment to see, cause that's what I was really waiting for, was to see how they were gonna meet up again. Cause you know, Spider-Man, he's still in his Iron Spider suit, and then you see how, you know, you also saw Drax, him fighting too. And then, let's see, what else? Even Iron Man met up with Doctor Strange during the battle. He even said, Strange, you said there was only one victory. Is this it? And then Doctor Strange said, if I tell you, it won't happen. Which was starting to get a little bit suspicious when he said that. He said, if I tell you, it won't happen. And I was like, wait, is Iron Man gonna sacrifice himself?
No! Help me!
So then, after that, so Thanos' ship is like firing at something in the sky. So then Falcon was like, what is this? And then he was like, what is this? And then Iron Man, he was like, Friday, what are they firing at? And then she said something, Friday also said something just entered the atmosphere. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. No, quick game, no. So yeah, that's what happened, and let's see. I didn't mean to go into that level. No, I did not mean to go into that. No. Go back into the game. Cause like, okay, so cause you know, what was I gonna say? Cause you know, crap. Wow, it just slipped out of my mind. Okay, so let's see what happened after that. Shoot, what happened? Okay, what happened after that? Okay, so that's when, okay, so he met up with Doctor Strange, said, is this the victory? He said, you said there was only one victory. Is this the one? He said, only if I don't tell you. It was the part after that. Like, I already told you guys this. Like, you guys hear me saying it again. But, like, I was just thinking, like, what happened, like, right after that part. Then there was another part. Oh, yeah, that's right. Where Hawkeye, he was also with the Avengers as they all assembled. Because he had the Infinity Gauntlet, too. Because he was the one who found the Infinity Gauntlet after Avengers HQ was destroyed. So...
Alright, let's go jump through some mystical portals.
So, yeah, that's what happened. So then...
Everyone stay on your toes. We don't know what might be waiting for us on the other side.
Go back. That was what happened, and then... shoot. Yeah, so, because he had the Infinity Gauntlet last, he had the Infinity Gauntlet, like, when the Avengers facility got destroyed. So then, you know, he had to, you know, because he was being outnumbered by the Outriders, so he passed it to Black Panther. And then Black Panther, he was fighting off everybody as he was getting to the, you know, as he was running with the gauntlet. And then he got outnumbered, and oh yeah, and the Black Order from the past, they came back too. So Ebony Maw, he got Black Panther to, like, he used us, he like captured him for a quick second, but Black Panther got out. So then Black Panther, he passed it to Spider-Man. Like, he passed the Infinity Gauntlet to Spider-Man. Spider-Man, he was web swinging with it, and then he was getting outnumbered. And then you see how Spider-Man, he finally activates the instant kill mode, and then he was getting outnumbered too. So then Captain America, he said, "Heads up, Queens," because I don't know if you guys remember, because Captain America Civil War, that was when Captain America, he asked Peter, aka Spider-Man, like, where was he from? He said Queens, and then Captain America said Brooklyn. So then he called, that Captain America in Endgame, he said heads up Queens, and then he throws Mjolnir. Then Spider-Man like uses his web to hang on to Mjolnir as Mjolnir is just flying across the battlefield. So then he gets, and then Pepper Potts, aka Rescue, because she's in her rescue armor, so she's now officially rescued. So she grabs Peter and helps him out, and then Valkyrie helps Peter out too. And then let's hope it's due. And then, you know, that's when Falcon said, like, that's when like the cannons of Thanos' ship were firing at something in the sky. That's when Falcon said, "What is this?" And then Captain America, the Tony Stark, he said to Friday, because, you know, Iron Man, he said, "Friday, what are they firing at?" And then she says, the Friday says something just, you know, enter the atmosphere, and you just see like this glowing beam just flying across, just flying down to the fight, and it's Captain Marvel. So yeah, we see her in action too, like she joins the fight too, which is one of the coolest scenes too. And then, you know, she helps out, she grabs the Infinity Gauntlet for Peter, and then Peter, he says, Spider-Man, he says, "Hi, I'm Peter Parker." Then Captain Marvel, she says, "Hi, Peter Parker," aka Carol Danvers, because Captain Marvel's other, you know, that her real name's Carol Danvers. She's like, "Hey, Peter Parker, you got something for me?" And then what's really cool is that he gives her the gauntlet, and he's like, "I don't know how you're gonna get through it all that," because the army, there's more, you know, people from the army it was just more Thanos' army just kept coming and coming. And then you just saw how like all the female Avengers assembled right there, because after Captain Marvel, she got the gauntlet. Okay, Okoye, she pops up. No, it was Scarlet Witch first. She said, "Don't worry," and then Okoye, she pops up. She joins. She says she's got help, and then you just see Pepper Potts in her rescue armor. She lands. You see Valkyrie land on her horse, on her like Pegasus. You see, you see Valkyrie land on her Pegasus, and then you see Mantis join too, and then you see the Wasp. She joins and helps out too. She assembles with the other female Avengers, and then you also see Shuri. So like all the female Avengers assembled right there. So yeah, that's what happened. And then here's the final moment, because like Ant-Man, he even said like that wasn't our only time machine, because remember, because the Quantum Realm time machine was also in the van that Ant-Man has used in the other movies. Like that's what he used in Ant-Man the Wasp. Well, I mean, he used it in the first Ant-Man movie, but it didn't have the Quantum Realm time machine in it. It was just an ordinary van in the first film for him. So, but in Ant-Man and the Wasp, they turned it to like the time machine was in the back of the van. So because he said that was our only time machine, then he just like turns on the alarm, so that way people can know like where the time machine was at. So the Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, she tries to head for the time machine. Thanos sees her, throws and then he like throws something at her. I think it was the blade that he threw at her, and then he tried to throw it. No, he threw it at the time machine. That's where he threw the blade at. He threw his blade at the time machine, and it blew up the time machine. And it was really cool is that she drops the Infinity Gauntlet. Thanos grabs her for a second, he puts it on. Captain Marvel, she stops him. She tries to stop him. And then he tries to headbutt Captain Marvel, but she literally just like, it's like she didn't feel a thing. Like, Captain Marvel, she's like one of the most powerful heroes in the Marvel universe. She's one of the most powerful people in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, once he headbutted her, like, she felt absolutely nothing. Like, she just stood there, like, very stiff. Like, she was like, really? Like, and then she just kept holding on to the gauntlet. Then he removes one of the stones, blasts her with the stone, and then Captain America, Thor, they try to stop him because he still has the gauntlet, so they try to stop him. So he like knocks them. He kind of like gets Captain America, Thor off of him while he tries to snap his fingers. So then Iron Man, he looked at Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange put up one finger because he put up that one finger because that represents that you know, when he put up that one finger, he only put up one finger. And then he was, because that meant he was like only one victory. And then Iron Man, he knew exactly what to do. So then Iron Man, he grabbed, okay, so he was fighting off Thanos, and Thanos, he pushed him away. Then Thanos tried to snap his fingers. He snaps his fingers, but he fails because nothing happened when he snapped his fingers. And then you look at the gauntlet, none of the stones are there. So then when you see Iron Man has all 6 stones on his own gauntlet, on his own hand, on his own, you know, Iron Man glove. So then he's like, cause he like, just in case, like what he did just in case is that for his Mark 85 suit, he built like an Infinity Gauntlet storage sort of part for the glove. And then and then you see all the gauntlets are on his armor hand, on his Iron Man glove repulsor. And he says, cause like, when Thanos cause Thanos, he said, I'm inevitable. That's what Thanos said when he tried to snap his fingers and he failed at it. When Iron Man, when he has all the stones, and when he's about to snap his fingers, Iron Man, he says the #1 line, and he hasn't said it in years. He hasn't said this line since the end of the first Iron Man film, which was back in 2008. So then when Iron Man is about to snap his fingers, he says, and I am Iron Man. And then snaps his fingers. You guys heard that noise. That was, of course, me snapping my fingers, just like he did. Snapping my fingers, just like he did in the film. So he was like, I am Iron Man. That's what he did. And then you see all Thanos' army gets disintegrated and dusted away. And the Thanos himself, he gets dusted away. So then you see Iron Man after that. You see how Iron Man, he's pretty damaged from snapping his fingers. And, you know, it's like everyone knew. It's like, because everyone already knew that. Because it's like, the Infinity Stones it's too much power for one person to handle, to maintain. And Iron Man, he's just a mortal. He's just a regular person. And he can't really handle that type of power. So what happens is that you see like his whole like right side is kind of like damaged too. Like it's his whole like right side is burned up and kind of damaged. Cause you know that took, cause like you know he couldn't, you know, cause he couldn't handle that type of power. Cause that's what he knew that he had to snap. So he just like sits down because you know he's pretty like tired and beat up from all that. So then the first person who comes to see him is War Machine. And then War Machine, he like just sees Iron Man. War Machine, because when War Machine saw it, like when War Machine knew that he snapped, War Machine was like, oh my god, so this is it, so you're about to die. That's what he was like. He was like, because he was trying to like say, like, War Machine was saying Rhodey was saying his goodbyes to Tony, because, you know, Rhodey and Tony, they were good friends, like, because, you know, Rhodey and Tony, like, they're very, very close, like, they're very close friends. So then Rhodey, he's like, okay, so this is it, like, you did what you had to do, and he was he just, like, looked at Tony, like, he just, like, put his hand on Tony's face, and then you see War Machine, you see Rhodey, how he starts to cry, because he's like, he knows that he's about to die, because he knows Tony's about to die. So the next person you see who pops up is Spider-Man, because he swings over to Iron Man, and then he says, Mr. Stark, we won. He's like, we won, Mr. Stark. And then, you know, Peter, he starts to cry, because he knows Tony's about to die. Then Pepper, you see how she pops up, and then she's like, Tony, and then Tony's just like, hey, he's like, hey, honey, he's like, hey, baby, and then he was like, and then Pepper, she said,
to buy milk.
She said, it's over now. She's like, it's over, you can rest now. When she said you can rest now, that's when I began to cry. I was like, oh god, because like when he was about to die, like I was like, okay, he's gonna die. And then once I knew that he was about to die, I was like, I just started crying. I couldn't, because like Iron Man, he's one of my like personal favorite Marvel characters. It's between him and Spider-Man. Like, those are my two favorite Marvel characters of all time. So then, like, Hawkeye. You see how he's just dying and he just rests and just goes ahead and just dies right there, and then everyone just starts to cry. And then Captain America and Thor, they also see Iron Man, and they also watch him. They also watch Iron Man. They also watch Iron Man die. Because they were there when Iron Man was dying. They were right there. Because they were literally like... Because Thor and Captain America, they were literally standing right next to War Machine. Like, they were literally standing right next to Rhodey and Peter and Pepper. Like, all you just see is Thor, Steve Rogers, Rhodey, Peter Parker, and Pepper. They're all just standing right in front of Tony, because they're all crying. Like, Steve Rogers is crying, Thor is crying too, Rhodey's crying, Peter cried. I knew Peter was gonna be the first one to cry. Like, I mean, Rhodey, he was the first one to cry, but I knew Peter was gonna absolutely get emotional. And I cried too, and then like, Pepper, she cries too. And like, and then after that, you just hear Tony, like, on one of his messages that he did before they did the time travel stuff. He was like, just in case I have an untimely death. And then he said, I love you 3000. That's what he said. And they show all the other heroes that came back. You see how they're back at home, safe and sound with their families. And then you see, they all are at Tony's funeral. Because Tony, he actually has a funeral.
I'm losing my mind trying to find the John in this place. It's like a maze up here.
You know, Tony Stark, he actually has a funeral at the end of the movie. So he has a funeral, like literally everyone is there. Like everyone from all the Marvel movies, like including Hank Pym, the original Ant-Man. He was there. I think Janet Van Dyne was there too. That's the original Wasp. I think they were there too. You see Hope there. You see Scott there, aka Ant. You see him there. You see Peter Parker there. You see Happy there, because Happy was, was Tony Stark's bodyguard, but he wasn't only Tony Stark's bodyguard, but Happy was also one of Tony Stark's best friends. So yeah, like, he was there at the funeral too. Pepper was at the funeral. Like, they even from the first Iron Man movie, Pepper, she gave him like this little birthday gift. It was like an arc reactor, and it said proof that Tony Stark has a heart. She put it on some flowers, and they put it out to like a river to honor him, you know. And they just show everyone, including the Guardians of the Galaxy. The Guardians of the Galaxy, they're there. Black Panther shirt, like T'Challa, Shuri and Okoye, they're even at the funeral. And like there's this kid who's there by himself and no one knew who he was, and I was like, wait a minute, is that the kid from Iron Man 3? Because remember in the third Iron Man movie where he was stranded on like in this little town where he crash landed into like this little town. This little kid, his name was Harley. He helped Tony out to, you know, help repair his Mark 42 suit, to, you know, help him get out of there. So Harley was there at the funeral, like Harley from Iron Man 3, the little kid. He was there because he's a teenager there too. He's a teenager now. So he was there at the funeral. You see Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel, she's there. And the last person you see at the funeral is Nick Fury. And he was there. So literally everyone was there. So how the movie really ends is that, you know, Captain America, he has to go back in time to put the stones back. And that's exactly what he did. But the only thing is that he didn't come back out when he time traveled. Like, he didn't come back to the present day. So then they were like, Sam and Bucky, they were both, Bucky, aka Winter Soldier, Sam is also the Falcon. They both see including Professor Hulk, aka Bruce Banner, like they see like this old man sitting on a bench, like near them, like literally right across from them. Like, well, not across, like they literally see an old man at a bench just sitting down, and then Sam walks up to that old man, and it's Captain America, because, you know, he stayed in the past. Because, you know, the only reason how Captain America was still young, well, I mean, he was still technically old, but he had a young look to him for all, like, these other Marvel movies that have been out for all these years. Because, you know, remember when in the first Avengers movie, like, not the first Avengers movie, in Captain America the First Avenger, which was Captain America's first film, you saw how, like, at the end of the movie, he was frozen because he had to make a sacrifice. So because he was frozen, that's why he didn't really age. Like, that's why he didn't look old. But they see this old man at a bench it's actually Steve Rogers, aka Captain America. Actually, Steve Rogers is actually him. It's Captain America, except just older. So then, because Bucky, he was like this, he was like, Sam, you go ahead. Because, like, Bucky, he knew what was getting ready to happen. He was like, okay, that must be Steve. And if it's him, because he knew that Captain America was getting ready to, you know, give the mantle to someone else. So he gave the shield to Sam, aka the Falcon. Because in the comic books, and I really like who they chose, because actually, I already knew this before, like way before Endgame even came out, like way before, like years ago, I already knew that, like, I definitely already knew, but like, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they were both Captain America in the comic books. So, in the MCU, Falcon, aka Sam Wilson, he is going to be the new Captain America. So then the movie just ends with Steve Rogers in the past just dancing with Peggy Carter, because like people have been actually saying that Captain America, he actually might get a happy ending, and that's exactly what happened. He got his happy ending. Like, he settled down with Peggy Carter. He got married to her, had a beautiful life in all that time. Because, you know, the quantum realm, the time works different in there. Instead of, like, it works totally different than it does in the real world. So then he was only there for like at least like 20 minutes. Like, he lived his life that he never had. He lived it all for like 20 minutes. So like, he came back to the present day, gave the shield to Sam Wilson. Now Sam Wilson's the new Captain America, and then it just ends with Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter. They're just dancing, because remember, he never got that dance, so they're finally dancing at the end of the film. So Steve Rogers, he finally got his happy ending, and I'm very glad they gave him a happy ending. So then the movie just ends there. Like, there's no post-credit scenes after that. It just ends. So yeah, so that is what happens. I know it's been at least like, I believe an hour and a half, you know, I've been talking about this film. I pretty much told the entire film, so like, dude.
Critical error. Please.
So, Jonas, okay, yeah. So, this movie itself was awesome-tacular. That's what Jeremy Johns says. I don't know if you guys have heard of Jeremy Johns, but he does movie reviews and video game reviews, and spoiler movie reviews, and spoiler game reviews, spoiler. Just, like I say, he also does that too. But, you know, he even says awesome-tacular, and I'm saying awesome-tacular for this movie. This movie was, I give it a 10 out of 10. It was perfect. Like, the only thing I wish for is, you know, without Iron Man dying, but it actually makes sense why they would do that. So I kind of, now I really don't mind now. I really don't mind it now, because, like, people have been making rumors that maybe Robert Downey Jr. might get his contract renewed. If that happens, then they possibly could bring back Iron Man, like, they possibly could resurrect him. Because, you know, there were Marvel characters in the comic books who did get resurrected, but yeah, like, this movie was perfect. I loved it. It was so much better than, like, I really enjoyed Infinity War. I really did. Like, Infinity War was incredible too, but this film was a whole lot better than Infinity War. It was so good. Like, Endgame was so much better than Infinity War. It's better. It's more intense. Like I said, it's more emotional, and it's got more action in it. Like, it's more action-packed, in my opinion. It really is. So, yeah, so, wow. Yeah, so that was it for Endgame. So yeah, so it just ended with him having his dance with Peggy Carter, you know, with Peggy Carter, and then it just shows, you know, it just shows all the actors and actresses that played each hero in this film and villain. You know, it showed each person who played us, you know, the heroes in this film for like all the films pretty much, like, but specifically in this film, like, it showed all the people who could, you know, who contributed, like all the actors and actresses who played all the heroes in this film. And yeah, everybody, you guys did, like I said, everyone did such a great job in this film, including Josh Brolin as Thanos. Like, dude, you killed it as him. Like, dude, like, Thanos is probably like one of the best Marvel villains ever. Like, out of all the other villains, like, Thanos, he's technically the best MCU Avengers villain ever. So yeah, like I said, all you guys did such a great job. And then at the end, they showed, like, after they showed everybody else that was in the film, they showed like the original 6 actors, and like they showed like the original 6 actors with their signatures that were, you know, because they showed the original 6 Avengers actors. Like, it showed first, like, okay, so after they were done showing everybody else, it showed the first original Avenger they showed was Hawkeye, and that was Jeremy Renner's character, and it showed his signature. Then after that it showed Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow in her signature, and then it showed Chris Hemsworth in his signature, because Chris Hemsworth, he plays as Thor, and after that it shows Bruce Banner, aka Hulk. It shows like it shows Mark Ruffalo's signature as well, because Mark Ruffalo, he plays as Hulk, or Professor Hulk. And then it showed Chris Evans, because he plays as Captain America, aka Steve Rogers. Because you know Hawkeye, like Jeremy Renner, he plays, you know, as Hawkeye, aka Clint Barton, of course, to show his signature. Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson showed her signature, and Black Widow, aka Natasha Romanoff. Then just Thor, Chris Hemsworth, his signature, and then yeah, and then of course Professor Hulk, aka Professor Hulk, aka Bruce Banner, was his signature by Mark Ruffalo, because Mark Ruffalo places him. Then it showed Chris Evans, who is Steve Rogers, aka Captain America. So it showed Chris Evans his signature as well, and then the final person they showed was, of course, the man who started all, because his movie was the first film to start the entire cinematic universe. Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, aka Tony Stark, and it showed Robert Downey Jr.'s signature. And then the movie just went to like the final credits. That was it. No more. It wasn't any post-credit scenes at all. And yeah, so the next film to come out after, you know, this is Spider-Man Far From Home, and the new trailer just came out today, and I watched it. It looks so epic, and it looks so cool, dude. Like, I think Far From Home is gonna do better. Like, I think Far From Home is gonna do better than Homecoming. Like, I really did enjoy the first Spider-Man film for the MCU. I really did enjoy that one. But yeah, I'll do my next Marvel Cinematic Universe movie review will be Spider-Man Far From Home when that comes out. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and favorite. And I hope you guys enjoyed this review. And I hope you guys really enjoy Avengers Endgame as much as I did and how everybody else did. It's one of the best Avengers movies of all time.
Every setback is a chance to learn.
And I'll see you guys in the in the next video. So actually, let me quit game. I'm done, literally done for the night. So yeah, I'm gonna exit out of there. But I really hope you guys enjoy this film. Like, this film was so incredible. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. It was really good. Oh yeah, Emilio Daza, if you're still watching, you said what would you rate this movie? I don't know if you already heard me do, but I gave this film a 10 out of 10. And what's up, King Ging? And but yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and favorite.